Thank you guys so much for joining me here on this fabulous NADA live stage. I am so excited and honored to be with you guys here today as I figure out my clicker here. I would guess that most people that you hear speak on this stage, and really any stage here at NADA for that matter, are going to be telling you stories of success, notable wins, tales of triumph, so that hopefully you can replicate that in your own lives as well, right? Not me. I'm going to be telling you a story about a time that I failed. And it's because I'm a firm believer that there's as much, if not more, to be gained from our failures than from our successes. And the hope is that you guys will learn from my failure so you can avoid it and avoid the digital graveyard of unused technology. So as he said, my name is Margaret Henney. I am the Vice President of Marketing at Covideo Dealer Services. We are the video messaging program for dealers. And it was about a year ago. I found myself with a growing team and a growing list of projects, to-dos and initiatives. And right at the moment, I was managing that out of Slack and emails back and forth with my team, Word documents, Excel, and it worked for a little while, but it was starting to get pretty messy, right? I needed a solution to help me out. And so I figured, okay, great. I'm going to find a solution for my team, a project management platform. I turned to something called Asana. Whoops, this way. I turned to something called Asana, and I said, perfect, I found the exact solution for what we're looking for. This is the problem that they solve. So I purchased the software, I handed it over to my team, and I triumphantly said, I've solved it. Wonderful, with this one purchase, we are now organized, right? Wrong. I thought that I had solved this problem, and unfortunately what happened is 2 months down the road, my team was not using the platform with any sort of regularity or any shared understanding really for how it should be used. So not only were we not more organized, I also had a team on my hand who was rightly frustrated with me. And the problem was, you know, I wanted to blame that on Asana, right? In fact, that would have been a lot easier, but it's a fantastic platform. And I could have blamed it on my team, but it wasn't their fault as well. And the fact of the matter is, because I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a prayer. And I'll say that again, because I think it's really important. Because I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a prayer. And that's going to be true for every single tool, technology, platform out there. That is a hard truth. But if you don't have a plan, I'm here to tell you that you will fail just as I did. And I want to make sure that you guys don't fall into that trap. I'm going a little too fast here. I'll back it up. Now, has anyone else found themselves in this situation? Right? I can't be the only one, right? Whether that's as a leader or as an end user, we've probably found ourselves in a situation where we thought we had the answer, and all it took was spending the money to fix the problem. And unfortunately, as you well know, it takes a lot more than that. And so I wanted to solve this for people. And if I was a betting person, by the way, because we're in Vegas, maybe I am a betting woman, I would bet that all of you, or at least 90% of you, have had that problem. And in fact, I know this to be true because of some stats that back it up here, guys, right? 49%, almost half of all installed software goes unused every single year. And that results in more than $500 million wasted by US businesses every single year. In fact, this is such a problem, unused and underused technology, that it has a name. It's called shelfware. It sits there on the shelf, collecting dust, just wasting our money. So this is a real problem. And it's a problem that's not just for me in marketing. It's a problem that's shared by you in the automotive world here as well. And I know this because there is a 2023 study by Capital One, and it cited adoption of technology keeps just going forward as the most overwhelming area of go-forward operations for dealers. And in fact, some of those top barriers are reliability and performance of that software, budget or cost, and then ease of adoption. And this is a problem that's worth solving because, let's face it, software is an integral part of our daily lives at dealerships. When used, and when used appropriately, it can make us more effective, more efficient, more connected, and better able to solve the growing and changing needs of our consumers. So I was frustrated by this. I wanted to solve this problem, not just for me, but for the dealers that my company works with every single day, because I'll be honest with you, the number one objection that we hear at Covideo is not that dealers do not believe in the power of video messaging. They do, they know it. They know it can help them in sales, in service, in marketing. The number one objection we hear from them is the concern, will it even get used? And based on these numbers that we see, it's a really valid concern for them to have, right? So I wanted to solve this. I want to empower dealers because it is something that can be solved. And so I talked to, not only are we wasting money, by the way, we're wasting time, effort, and then lack of innovation as well. So lots to be gained from solving this problem. So I dug into best practices and some case studies. I talked to people who were doing it well, and I came up with 3 different pillars to help you avoid the digital graveyard of unused technology. Pillar number 1, set up for success. We gotta start right to get it right from the beginning. So I'm gonna tell you some of the things that you should be considering and questions that you should be asking before we even pull the trigger. The other one, drive adoption. Easier said than done, right? This is usually where the issues come up. There's a lot of challenges here. So we're gonna get into some of the tactics there. Hopefully you can take some of those away and see some real change at your dealership. And then finally, we gotta track the results. We absolutely have to know where we're starting. We have to track those metrics on where we're going in order to determine the efficacy. Right? Was this successful or wasn't it? And you might be surprised how many people are going with their gut on this versus looking at the data. So let's go ahead and dive in. We're gonna set up with success. So number 1, set up for success. We are gonna determine metrics that matter. When I say metrics that matter, by the way, we're not just talking about selling more cars. Of course we wanna sell more cars, right? I want you to get granular and more specific about this. So for instance, if a dealer was looking at a platform like Covideo, metrics that matter, their goal might be to drive more in-store traffic. So metrics that matter are increasing lead to conversion, right? Lead to appointment, right? One of those. The other one we're looking at is lead to show rate. So I want you to get really specific on those metrics that matter. The more specific you can get, the better in this area. Then, I want you to consider a partner versus a vendor, and I want this to be your mantra when you are looking at software. Are we looking for a partner or are we looking for a vendor? And that evaluation, a partner, is as important as the product itself. So some things that you should be asking them are, what does training and onboarding look like? What does support look like? How can I count on you if things go wrong or if my team needs you? And then I also want you to pay attention to how they interact with you during the sales process. Are they communicative? Are they responsive? These are great clues for a partner that you should be looking for. Here's another one that I like to do. I call it kind of like a red light, green light exercise for determining if they're a great partner. They should be able to give you their expert opinion. So say, hey, this is what's going on in my dealership. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? A partner will put on their consultant hat. They will think like they are a part of your extended team, and they will tell you how you should be using their tool to solve your unique challenges. A vendor will put the emphasis back on features and functionality. They will have a much harder time answering that question because there's no accountability after the fact. So pay very close attention to how they answer that question. The other thing, prioritize integrations. I probably don't have to say this to you guys. I know how important it is, but I want you to think about it. We need tools that play well with each other, right? Where we've got data going back and forth between them. Not only is this going to make it an easier on-ramp for your end user, it's also going to make sure that we've got an efficient workflow, right? Where we have fewer disruptions in place. We hear this from dealers all the time, how important it is to them. It's one of the reasons we were so excited at the beginning of the show to announce our most recent integration with Dealer Socket CRM. So we're really excited to get our shared users up and running with that. Finally, in this area, I guys want you to get buy-in and input. Now, keep in mind, we're still talking about before we've even bought this software, right? A lot of times people wait on this until they've signed the contract. That's too late. I want you to bring in key parties early. Now, there is such a thing as too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So determine who those key parties are, but they're definitely leaders, and actually they're gonna be middle management as well. Who is leading this initiative? Because studies show that this group of people is the most resistant to change, and who can blame them? Because oftentimes that extra work falls on their shoulders. So bring in their valuable opinion and input early on in the conversation. I promise it's gonna save a lot of headaches down the road. When we're talking about getting input from these individuals as well, or getting their buy-in rather, excuse me, we want them to understand the why. Not just the why for the whole organization, but the why for them. Make it personal so that they actually care about it. Try to paint a picture for what life could look like in an ideal world were we to use this tool. So for instance, if a dealer is talking to their sales team about using a tool like Covideo, they might say, hey, right now it's taking 8, 10, 12 touches to get in touch with a lead. What if we had a tool that allowed you to get in touch with them with 2 outreaches? Might that save you time? What could you do with the rest of that time? Make it really specific, paint that picture, get them excited, and make sure that it's specific to them. What motivates them? What do they care about? All right, so the next area we're gonna go to is driving adoption. This is the toughie, guys. In this one, I'm gonna be talking a little bit about accountability, so foreshadowing, okay? But when I say accountability, I think it's worthwhile to let you know that accountability goes 2 different ways. Oftentimes we talk about accountability just for the end user, and certainly that's very important as well, but as leaders, trainers, and managers, we also are accountable to make sure that it's as easy as possible for them. Part of that is creating a plan ahead of time. That was my problem with Asana, right? I thought, great, I solved the problem, I bought the tool, here you go. No plan was in place. It was doomed to fail right from the start. So for instance, if we're thinking about our metrics that matter, that we determined earlier, right? If we want to convert more of those leads to appointments, we might say we're gonna send a personalized video intro to every single one of those, right? That's our first tactic. The other metric that matters is we want to get more of those appointments set to be actual shows. So we're gonna send a personalized video reminder ahead of all of those appointments. Now you'll notice that's my whole plan. I've got 2 tactics that I want them to do. We're not gonna go from couch potato to running a marathon, guys. Let's try a 5K and see how it goes, okay? Because you cannot perfect what you don't start. So I really believe in keeping it small, keeping it simple, and keeping it focused from the very beginning. I also want you guys to temper your expectations when it comes to adoption. If we have the expectation of 100% adoption across our entire team or organization, I'm telling you, you're gonna get your heart broken. Go for 75 to 80% adoption, you're still gonna be best in class, all right? That's okay. So also under this area, you want to prioritize training. This is a great opportunity to rely on that partner we talked about earlier, right? Hopefully you've identified that great partner, not that vendor who's still here with you. You need training to be available early, often, and on an ongoing basis, right? It's not a one and done thing. And a couple little hints for you here in terms of training. If you want a tool to stick early and get some early wins, there are 3 groups that I want you to start with. And the first one is new hires. If you start them using that tool straight from the beginning, they've never known anything different, right? Get them using it, getting some wins that they can share with the rest of the team. That's an easy one under your belt. The other one is those innovators. You might have those people at your dealership. They're excited about new tools and technology. They love change and they embrace it. And they like to be influencers among their peers. Definitely get it in their hands, right? They'll take it and they'll run with it. And those are the people who are also evangelists. They love to talk about it. Hey, I'm using this great new thing. It's helping me convert people faster. It's shortening my sales cycle. Other people are going to start hearing about them and they'll follow in their footsteps. The other group in that area then is what I like to call the movable middle. oftentimes we'll take a look at our team and we'll think about that as sort of a bell curve, right? Where you've got a small number of people that are early adopters. They're taking that tool, they take it and they run with it. You got a small number of people over here. Those are the ones that have dug in their heels and they said, you can't make me do it. I'm not doing it no matter what. Okay, that's fine. They'll come along later. Don't worry. The majority of your people will be somewhere in that movable middle. Spend the time trying to inch them closer to those early adopters, and you'll get wins from that. If you're just working on those people that have dug in their heels, you're going to be frustrated. It's going to be a waste of time. Give them some time. They'll get in there after a while. The other thing is ensure accountability. Now, you guys have heard this a lot, but I think it's a great phrase. I think it resonates with people. You have to inspect what you expect. It's not sexy. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? We got to do it every day, all the time, over and over. And I know that it's a lot of work, but I'm telling you, it's the only way to get it done. Now, whether that's going to be on an old school whiteboard you've got boxes you're checking off, maybe it's in your CRM with reporting, maybe it's reporting through that specific tool. Doesn't matter how you get it done, but I will say it's better if you can make it public because it gets you some of that, that competitive drive, right? So if I see this whiteboard and Elizabeth has all of her boxes checked and I don't have any of mine, by God, she's not gonna beat me. I'm gonna get those checked off. So I like to make it public. I think it drives people even more. So the other one is embed it in the culture. This is important not just for adoption, but for the long run. We want it to be sticky, right? So the culture is getting it into your vernacular, where you talk about it regularly all the time, not just at the beginning when you first started. Bring it up in your meetings. Hey, how's it going? Who's using it? Who's had some wins? That's another great opportunity. Socialize those wins. Oftentimes we hear about people who are winning with tools. We keep that to ourselves and we're like, okay, that's great. Don't be quiet about that. I want you to shout that from the mountaintops. Tell everybody. Not only are you able to then praise people publicly, which bodes well, but it inspires the rest of your team and lets them know, hey, so-and-so is using it and it's working and they're getting wins. That's going to get them to come along. I think it's also great if you can have some incentives or competitions. We've worked with plenty of dealerships who have done that and seen a lot of great results when they're just getting started. All right, finally, guys, we're on to pillar number 3, track results. I need you to get a baseline. So we talked about those metrics that matter, remember? So it's not just that metric. We have to know where we're starting, and we have to get specific about it. This is before implementation. What was life like before we started using this tool so we can determine what life is like after? So again, if our metrics that matter are that we want to improve our lead to appointment rate. Let's say we're sitting at 45% right now. We want to increase that by 10%. We're going to do that by sending that personalized video. Our other metric that matters is appointment set to show. Maybe we're at 60%. We want to inch that up by 5%, and we're going to do it by sending that personalized video reminder every time. Now we know where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. Define a test period. This is one that I wish I could tell you what that magic sauce is, but it's going to be determined by those metrics that matter. So for instance, if one of your metrics that matter is on retention, 1 month of a testing period ain't gonna cut it, right? It's further down the funnel. It's gonna take some time to see those results. So make sure that you are aligning those two things together. Maybe it's 3 to 6 months, maybe it's 6 to 12. Just make sure that those are lining up with one another. And then we're going to implement consistency. This is another one of those that's simple, not easy. We have to stick to the plan and use it over and over again in order to determine efficacy. This isn't for the rest of our lives, right? This is just for our test period. And then we're going to take a look and say, hey, how did it go? But we have to use it. We have to use it over and over. We're not just sending one video. We're not just using our CRM one time. We're doing it over and over according to our plan. A coach, I think it was Nick Saban who said this, it may not have been, but he says, we don't practice until we get it right. We practice until we can't get it wrong. And I love that. I think those are words to live by. And then finally, we're going to evaluate the numbers. Okay, that partner that we chose, they're back in the conversation, right? Get them on the phone. Let's take a look at it. How are we doing? Did we meet our goal? Are we on our way to meeting our goal? If we maybe turned this dial or pulled this lever a little bit, made a couple changes. If so, talk to your partner. How can we iterate on this? We're seeing success. We want to do it in other places. Where else can we expand and do that more? And they should be able to answer that question and answer it happily for you. Now, on the flip side, if the answer is no, you are not getting to your goal, you don't see a path to reach that goal at any point, maybe it's time to cut ties. That's okay. There is value in failing early, but when you do this, I have to implore you that we have to be honest with ourselves. Were we implementing? Did we do it consistently? And did we follow the plan? So as a reminder, as we wrap up here, guys, for software success, to make sure that we are avoiding that digital graveyard of unused software, we're going to set up for success, we're going to drive adoption, and we're going to track our results. If this is something that you guys have struggled with in the past, I hope you come talk to me. I'll be standing over here on the side. You can't miss me. I'm in a blue suit. Come find me. I would love to talk shop with you. Hopefully you found some nuggets from this that you guys can take back. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.